So our next talk is by Yoon Irons, who you've all met from the University of Derby. And she's going to talk to us about her deep expertise in singing and Parkinson's. So thank you, Yoon.
Thank you so much. Turtle is back. So I'm University of Derby. Derby is the middle of England. Sorry, no turtles there. We're surrounded by the hills and mountains, a place called Peak District. Okay, this section I'm going to talk about my long-term passion, which is singing, bringing singing to people with Parkinson's and to help them to live life with more satisfaction, I guess. Right. So recently I have completed another systematic review on the effects of singing for Parkinson's, and I'm going to talk to you through that. Okay. So Parkinson is a neurological condition. I know it was mentioned before. Yeah. So you talked about Parkinson. So it's I also found a statistic for Canada. So apparently around 1 in 500 people will get diagnosed with Parkinson. Worldwide, we've got over 1 million, 10 million people living with Parkinson's. And given the aging society, we will face the situation where people with Parkinson live longer and with increased disabilities. It is a complex condition. It's known for the shaking hands, but it's actually Parkinson brings motor disability as well as non-motor impairments. So it's a very complex condition. There's no cure, therefore, managing Parkinson is the key. Now, I want to introduce you a little YouTube video. I won't play it today, but you can look it up. So it's called Tony's Story. So Tony sings with us with our weekly singing group called Sing to Beat Parkinson's in southeast of England. And it's a lovely video about his Parkinson and him singing as well. So that's Tony and his wife on piano. This is a study I led, a multi-site international study. You can also read, we found statistically significant improvement in terms of mental health. So our participants, the singers who live with Parkinson, showed reduced anxiety and stress, depression at the end of the 6 months of singing program. This is another recent study I did. It's all to do drumming and for Parkinson's. But the key was that they were listening to their favorite songs, like Ain't Mountain, No Mountain Higher, you know. And with the songs, they had energy to drum. And I'll be talking about this tomorrow in Hamilton at McMaster University conference. So back to a systematic review. I did mention earlier on why we do systematic review. That's because we can pull evidence together and then say, in summary, the evidence we have is this. Therefore, we can determine effect or no effect about a intervention. So we looked at the here in group singing interventions for people with Parkinson's. The early study we found is published in 1999, and now we are 2024. So, you know, people have been publishing studies about singing and Parkinson's over 20 years. So what do we know? Similar before, we did electronic database searches. We had a criteria that what we are looking for that had to be academic papers, and usually in medical world, systematic review will look at only randomized control trial, but given the singing studies we have, we also said we will include pre and post the non-randomized studies as well. And that resulted to, for us to include 20 studies with including 3 randomized control trials and 17 non-randomized control trials. Those 3 studies are very interesting, actually. One is from Iran, that's most recent randomized trial. And the second one is from New Zealand. And the third one is from America. So, and what we found, the results, quickly, I'll introduce you. Basically, we found there are positive effects according to statistical analysis called meta-analysis in 3 speech outcomes and 1 in respiratory outcomes. So these are, so the papers published about the research is published about singing benefits for Parkinson's address these 5 areas: respiratory, speech communication, motor function, mental health, and well-being and quality of life. But we couldn't, according to our meta-analysis, we did not see any statistically significant effects, these 3. But however, we saw some statistical positive effects for speech communication and respiratory function. So I'll take you through. First one is something called maximum phonation time. So this is test where you have to say R as long as you can. So this is linked to your breathing pattern, your breathing capacity. So there were 11 studies reported the benefits, these outcome measures. And when we put it all together, we had this result showing positive, positive effects. Second meta-analysis, the positive outcome we found is loudness. So with Parkinson's, people often get very quiet voice. And so increasing the loudness of voice is also a key target in speech language therapy with Parkinson's. And after singing, lots of singing papers also measured how loud the participant could talk or read. Yeah, so we included 5 studies, and again, the results showing positive effect, just positive, because it's touching the middle line. This is called forest plot, a specific forest plot is meta-analysis graphic. So, okay, next one is pitch range. So, another difficulty with Parkinson's is that they will develop sort of monotone speech. So when we talk, we go up and down. But due to Parkinson, people will have very monotonic sound-like voice speech like this. But after singing, they seem to have improved that pitch range in their conversation. That's due to the singing, including the songs having lots of a variety of intervals. So when you sing, it's not monotonic, well, except rap. Say, Danny Boy, My Pony is Over the Ocean. All of those songs have got loads of beautiful intervals, right? And phrases. So this seems to work on your vocal cords, yes? And so help you have more variety, the up and down of the pitch in your speech. So Sorry, I had a technical challenge to include forest plot, but we do found also again positive effect in that outcome measures. The next one is respiratory outcome measures called maximum inspiratory pressure. So respiratory meaning related to your lung breathing, and maximum inspiratory pressure is a strength test, okay? Strength of your respiratory muscle test. And inspiratory means while you're breathing in. So your muscle around your lungs, so all the area up there, how strong they are, yeah? And after singing, people with Parkinson will demonstrate improved maximum inspiratory pressure, which is down to the diaphragmatic breathing method. So we're not singing up here just with your vocal cord. We are singing with our whole body using our full capacity of the lungs, which means you are expanding your respiratory muscle. Yeah. So therefore, singing strength this bit, this muscle strength. And again, we have a positive effect for this outcome measure too. So so with this systematic review, our second aim was to look at, okay, what did they do in their singing? Because it could be coffee and tea and biscuit they provided. It could be, I don't know, the singing director who was rather charming. I don't know. So we wanted to also know, so what should you do to achieve those health outcomes, okay? So we want to synthesize those singing intervention practice. And here we learned that these are common elements within the singing interventions. So no surprise here. You say welcome, hello, how do you do? You might start with a hello song in your session. And then you move on to physical warm-ups, including stretches, and yeah. And then you also include breathing exercises, yeah? Remember, we are using the diaphragm to sing. So we're not just teaching them just sing along any song you like, but we are really teaching them how to sing. Because when you sing, your body is your instrument. So from the posture to how to breathe, everything is so important. And then vocal warm-ups. Lots of study talked about what sort of vocal warm-ups they use, or they included. Lots of speech therapists will agree as well, so thank you. Then some people include speech exercise, they said. Then song singing, of course, that's the main part of the singing intervention. That's where you build up all these techniques, breathing, your pitch range, your expression, all comes into play, yeah? So that. And then we also looked, okay, who is delivering this singing intervention, singing program for Parkinson's? According to those 20 papers we looked at, some music therapists lead most of those interventions. Speech therapists, including Meryl Tanner, also led singing interventions. There were studies where music therapists and speech therapists worked together, and where professional musician was conducting the group while the speech therapist gave input. Yeah, and also there was they defined as a choral conductor, choral director, again, or professional musicians, just without any allied health professionals' input. Okay, so that's so far what we know within the published papers. Some strengths and limitations here. So I think multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary collaboration is a strength. As I mentioned before, working with speech therapists is really important. Having their input into the singing program is absolutely vital for Parkinson's when you're addressing their speech problems here. And papers, the studies we looked at used validated methods, either it's questionnaire or validated tests. They followed the protocol. And it's more of online studies coming out as well. And the latest RCT even used WhatsApp to deliver their intervention. So I don't know how well that worked, but believe it or not, they use WhatsApp. Yes. Okay, so, and again, as I mentioned before, the evidence we have is relying on non-RCTs, really. The majority of studies are small scale, short-term studies without control groups. So that's the weakness. But we will strengthen that doing our multi-site study with control groups and lots of good stuff in there. Okay, and again, I want to emphasize this. We need to share what you did in your study. We need to include your details of your singing program. Yeah, because that's how you and even some repertoire as well. It's important to know what you did with your group within your study. So I think when we are publishing studies, we need to provide some good details about that. Okay, just to summarize, more studies needed. Unfortunately, we do not have yet strong evidence to say, look, neurologist, Dr. Skelly, come on, you must sing here. Evidence tells us this. We do not have that yet. So, but I know we do have plenty of anecdotal evidence. As I mentioned, Tony's story is really moving. I'm sure in your practice, in your groups, you've seen it. And yeah, we know that there are lots of potentials with singing, but we need a really, really good study to prove that. Therefore, to inform the medical professions and therefore put perhaps singing as a prescription for Parkinson's, or what's common is in the UK is that Parkinson's rehab is always multidisciplinary program. So physiotherapists, speech therapists, they work alongside with the neurological consultants. So why not singing practitioners also working with them out of the multidisciplinary rehab program? So that would be good. That would be my dream, our dream. Yes. Oh, yes. So about the practice, the intervention itself, we recommend that you do include breathing exercise using the diaphragmatic breathing. Vocal warm-ups, again, you based on speech therapist input would be really important. Right, further information, I'm doing a few advertisements here. So I work with this charity called Sing to Beat Parkinson's in the UK, and we're doing online and in-person trainings. So we do recognize people need to learn some specific knowledge to deliver singing for people with Parkinson's. So luckily, it's in about 10 days. So you can still sign up for this and it's online. And yeah, the time will suit you as well, I think. Yes, yes. So do come along if you can. Yeah, and there is one more thing. So there is Scotland Singing Network, where I have made podcast and video as well now for talking about how to sing for Parkinson's. So for your information. So thank you very much.
Sing to Beat Parkinson's was a plug for a talk, because if you're just looking for donations, we have Singing with Parkinson's in Canada, no competition, which we helped found. So we have time for one question. We're going a bit long. Meryl, hold on.
Thank you. I'm just wondering. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm just wondering if, well, you know that there's this perceptual disconnect that happens with Parkinson's disease, and it gets worse as the disease gets worse. So one of the big advantages of having, especially in person, I think, over online, is that you can see them and you can demonstrate and really get them moving and expanding the way they need to. And they need, unlike someone with a stroke, where you're getting someone with a stroke back into shape and their voice back into shape, they need more help long term. So they need these programs for a long time, for the rest of their lives, essentially. Because they, and even in studies, you probably know this too, that in a session where they've been trained by the speech therapist, they can go loud, but it doesn't mean that they're loud when they're talking to their families or out in a social situation. So even if we give them those skills, they're not necessarily using them. And we have to keep teaching them to change their perception of how they produce sound. Do you agree with me? Wasn't a question, was it?
There was no question, Meryl. What was your comments? Thank you. Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, long term is always better. Parkinson is a long-term condition. COPD, another long-term condition. Aphasia, another long-term condition. Long-term, I did another systematic review where we found that long-term singing is better than short-term singing. Long-term meaning probably 6 months plus. And as you're saying, Meryl, people with Parkinson might have to sing until they really cannot sing. Yes.
Maybe I can